All right, let's roll. Getting to Work is the podcast of NCI Works. I'm John Spencer from Starved Rock Media, joined today by Oreste DAversa. We can just call you Rusty, right?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
We talked previously with Rusty, the author, the speaker, the coach, the interfaith minister, about quiet firing, quiet quitting. And since then, we have talked on a couple of other podcasts about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, microaggressions, and it's all about unhappy people and cultures that may not be conducive to keeping staffs and people happy, and all about personal growth as I see it. Rusty, is that even close to on target here?
Yeah, no, I think you're on target. I think, as I mentioned before in a previous podcast, I'm not going to call it a revolution, but I think we're going through an evolution in the workforce and in the workplace that COVID might have kicked things into high gear, and I think we have to reassess and re-look at the way business is conducted and how employees and employers interface, the way employees and employees interface. So I think all that needs to be reevaluated, I should say, and maybe come up with newer ways of conducting business.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're all just kind of making it up as we go and trying to figure it out as we go. And from a small business here in North Central Illinois at Starved Rock Media to talking to my adult children who are working in much larger companies in Minneapolis and San Antonio, respectively, I think I get a pretty good cross-section of the chaos that I guess you could say COVID at least help perpetuate. Now many businesses are looking to perhaps try to bring people back in, and people are not wanting to come back in. And on some level, I think even the panacea of work from home for people has turned into not the happily ever after that they thought it might be.
Well, I agree with you. I think we're social creatures, and to work in an isolated environment is just not natural for us as social creatures, being human beings. And as we start chatting, I've seen some patterns develop that I observed that I'd like to that we'll chat about as we go along in today's podcast.
Yeah, that'll be terrific. Look forward to hearing that. And as a father who helped put a couple of kids through college not all that long ago, I know you're working on something to help parents of college students and college students too, which we'll get to before we're done today. But first of all, let's talk just a little bit, I guess the 30,000-foot level on mindfulness. What is it, if you can describe it in a few words, and why is it something that we need to be mindful about?
Well, the word mindfulness is a pretty big word and a pretty big subject, and it really boils down to really one's behavior and how to interact with other people. Now, specifically, we're talking about the workplace, but these rules can really apply to one's professional life and their personal life. What I've seen personally, I would say these past 5 years, and obviously the COVID has exacerbated it, is we have many people, and we're not going to talk about ages and generations, but we have many people who have grown up or have been using and been living their lives behind a screen. Living one's life behind a screen is an individual event. So they were living their lives behind the screen, then COVID brought them home again to live their lives more behind the screen, and now what's happening is people are being called back to work as a group. And I think what needs to happen is I think people need to be eased in to working in a group environment.
Yeah, it's definitely a shock, or can be. I did work from home for a few brief stretches during the pandemic, and just after those brief stretches, coming back in, boy, was it people-y.
Yeah.
I don't know any better way to describe it.
Yeah.
But just overload.
Yeah. Well, what's happening is obviously you're used to working. Again, I'm using the words as an individual experience working behind the screen, because when you're working behind the screen, it's just you and the screen. You're really not interfacing with human beings, let's face it. Now, if you've been working behind the screen and now you go home to work behind the screen, now your normal is working behind the screen, and human interface is at a minimum. So now we have employees coming back. Now they're working with the coworkers again, and I think it's more of a shock. And what I would suggest, some to-dos would be to gradually start integrating people into work groups once again, be it the classic Monday morning meeting with everyone, or 5 or 10 minutes, or 5 or 10 minutes either a day or once a week within your work group. And I think we have to reintegrate folks into working together as teams, as a community, and as an organization.
So how does mindfulness fit into all of this, Rusty?
Well, we all have to be mindful that we're working with other people, that the world is strictly not about me, and we have to start getting comfortable going back to working with we. And that's going to take some time, and that's why I personally would suggest easing people into this so people feel comfortable, because what's happened is people have become used to working in their own world, their own little universe, their own little silo, and now we're asking people to start working together again as a group, as a community, in a work group. So I think it's going to take a little time. I don't think it's impossible, but I think one of the roles of the supervisor team and the management team is to help with that integration.
So do you have some tips? I mean, obviously you've talked about work groups a little bit and bringing people together purposefully, but how do you deal with an individual who just frankly feels that they would prefer not to work with other people and they're better at home alone, if you will?
Well, hence the concept of evolution versus revolution. I think the evolution might be that we have to reassess people's role, and maybe some people can have the ability to work from home. Having worked from home myself professionally way before it was fashionable, where I was a remote employee of a Silicon-based company when I did my 20 years in the technology industry, working from home is a privilege and not a right. So I think many employees need to understand that it's really a privilege to work at home and not a right. And what I mean by a privilege, the employer's trusting you to be productive while you're home and not just really hang out and just do work when it comes to you. So it's more of a disciplined individual who can work from home and work under a concept which is called MBOs, Managed by Objectives, where you have things to do and you do them no matter what the clock says. So also, again, maybe roles need to be reevaluated, that someone maybe can work from home a part of the time. Maybe they'll be able to work from home 2 days out of the week and they're in the office 3, or vice versa.
All good stuff. What do you say? I always like to talk about round pegs and round holes, and not every person, well, people will tell you they all want to be managed the same. At the end of the day, they're all individuals and need to be managed individually. Would you agree with that?
Well, without question, and that's where management and supervisors come in. The managers and supervisors tend to be, for lack of a better expression, the oil or the grease that makes an organization run well, smoothly. Sometimes it's up to the supervisor to make those determinations. The challenge is, unfortunately, many times we have egos and personalities. We get into a situation where why is he or she allowed to work at home and I can't? So it's up to supervisory and management teams to really readdress how much the employee needs and must be in the office, and can the employee work remotely. Some jobs lend themselves to doing that, and some jobs, as the saying goes, you cannot phone it in, you must be there.
Absolutely. And with employees with different classifications, it's a little bit easier to explain that for the most part. But individuals, again, are individuals, and you just have some people that do better in-house as opposed to on their own. So it really is difficult, wouldn't you say?
Well, without question, there are some employees that need constant supervision. That's just the way it is. And they need to be in the office because you know that they're really not working to their full capacity. Furthermore, again, some positions interact with other positions, and it needs to be done face-to-face. You can't spend minutes or hours emailing back and forth to someone when you can walk to their desk and get a question answered within a few minutes.
Yeah, that's one of my big pet peeves is, is this a text? Is this an email? Is this a phone call? Is this a face-to-face? Four very different things, and they all have a purpose, right?
Without question. And again, it has its purpose, but working from home is not the be-all, end-all. I mean, having been a remote employee to a Silicon Valley company many moons ago, there are many times that I needed to speak to an individual. We had time zone issues, and back then the Internet wasn't as prevalent as it is now. So there's a lot of lost productivity, and employees need to understand that just because you want it doesn't make it so. We have to think of the good of the organization and what's good for these organizations' productivity and what's going to work well for the organization. Yes, the individual is important, but at the end of the day, if the organization is not productive, profitable, or meeting its goals and objectives, guess what? There's no job to go to anymore. And we're seeing that with the high-tech companies that are laying off in mass by the hundreds. Many companies are laying off by the thousands. So they're seeing that they have to tighten their belts. Some positions must be in-house. Some positions you must be there, and there's no discussion about it. The expression we used to use back in the day was, do you enjoy your job, and do you like to be part of the job continuation program?
The job continuation program. I like that. I'm sure not everyone does, but very, very well put. And I think most of us want to be part of that job continuation program at the end of the day. In your work, Rusty, with both individuals and groups, have you found any exercises or anything that can help with mindfulness and just sort of let everybody know that we're all in this together and we're all trying?
Well, that's the issue. You hit the nail right on the head. We're in this together, and we have to start functioning as we. And it's not always about me. It's about we. And we are part of our organization. So we have to look at the bigger picture here. And, again, it may take some reintegration that all of us need to readjust. Obviously, we adjusted to the fact of working alone and in silos and working behind a screen. We have the ability to re-engineer that and now either have more of a blend of partly behind the screen and partly face-to-face, or moving back to face-to-face completely. So we've done it one way, and now we could just do it again the other way. Will it take some time? Will it take some patience? Will it take some management and supervisory skills? Sure it will.
I'll ask you to share a couple of resources, if you will, before we're done, where we can go for more information on all of this. I know you've been responsible for a number, but I sort of teased at the beginning, you're coming out with something new that's going to help parents of college students or college incoming freshmen.
Yes,
what they want to do with their lives.
Sure. Well, obviously, as you know, many children are heading towards higher education in college, and in this day and age, going to college is a major financial investment for the family and ultimately to the student carrying in student debt. So I'm introducing within the next 30 or 60 days coaching to help folks make sure they pick the proper college major for them so they can be productive and successful as much as possible. Now the dynamics have changed going to school. Now we talk about someone going to college not having one career, possibly having two or even three careers by the time they retire. And the website's going to be www.collegemajorcoaching.com.
All right, we'll look for college major coaching. And I know going back a number of years, I had picked up on the fact that experts were saying young people would not just have one career. Like, it was mom, dad went to work in the factory, and that was what they did their entire career until they retired. Now they have multiple careers, not just different jobs where they hop, but different careers. You think about all of the careers that exist now that did not, even 5 years ago now.
Well, without question, between life expectancy and the evolution of the marketplace, where we have new careers being created, let's just say hypothetically one graduates at 21. Realistically, they may go for an advanced degree. So let's say for the sake of conversation, a person enters the workforce at 25. So you put in 20 years in one career, that puts you at 45, and now at 45 years old, you still have the opportunity for even a second career, or possibly even a third if you do another career 10 years, another career after that 10 years. Now, what we like to do is position people where they can stay in one particular maybe career field the entire time, because let's face it, all the careers are morphing with the usage of technology. No matter what you do, medicine, architecture, accounting, legal, we're using technology more and more. So someone could hypothetically start their career as a doctor or a nurse, and then get into the technology side of things, and always stay in the field of medicine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's so deep, and I think we could probably do an entire podcast just on that alone one day. Maybe we will, Rusty.
Sure. I mean, the way things are going, I think we've seen the world of work has not gone linear, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's gone geometric, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, meaning that there's so many opportunities being created by technology that really the world is really endless. It's just having the proper skills to bring to the marketplace. But I think this new generation will have tremendous amount of opportunities.
That's great to hear. We're always looking for more opportunities for advancement, both personally and professionally. I think many of us are, and I appreciate your time and expertise today. What's the best resource to find out everything we want to know if we want to go further in any of these topics, Rusty?
Well, realistically, it really goes around my new book. It's been around for about a year or so now, and Life Beyond the Pandemic. So www.lifebeyondthepandemic.com really incorporates a lot of this thinking and discussion of what people can do with their lives, and also www.Metro Small Business Coaching as well discusses some of the other points for folks who are running small businesses and have some challenges there. But adding to being an interfaith minister, we're all here for a reason and a purpose. So all my work goes around that concept of we're here for a reason and a purpose. Let's maximize those reasons and purpose and become all of what we can be while we're here.
And if you want to find out more about Oreste, our first podcast on quiet quitting and quiet firing talked a little bit more about how he went through multiple metamorphoses in his career and life before finally putting it all together as a certified professional coach. Oreste? Rusty, thanks for your time today.
Well, thank you once again for having me, and I want to thank all you folks and all your listeners for participating and listening as well.
And again, the website, if you're interested in finding out more about mindfulness or even just connecting with Oreste DAversa for all of the different things that he's got knowledge and advice on, start with lifebeyondthepandemic.com. And for all things work-related in North Central Illinois, it's NCIWorks.org.
All right. Another successful interview. Yep.
We got through it.
Okay, super.
Rusty, thank you so much as always.
Well, thank you once again. I hope we covered everything you folks wanted to cover.
Yeah, I mean, there's, as you know, roadmap for this. You know, we kind of go and next time we could have a conversation on the same subject that would go a different route. I'm quite certain.
Yep.
So, thanks again for your time.
Okay, thank you once again. Have a good day.